Hey everyone, it's Anthony Allen Ramos. All right, Brandon Wolf is one of today's most passionate, vital LGBTQ activists. Of course, many of you got to know him after he was a survivor of the Pulse Nightclub shooting that happened in 2016. Flash forward to today, he is doing amazing things, including putting out his first memoir called A Place for Us, which is going to be out very soon. And I'm so excited to be chatting with Brandon right now. How are you?
I am well, thank you so much. I'm really excited to chat with you.
I am too. This book, and I love that it's, we're coming out of Pride Month. We have something to look forward to for July. But, I feel like a memoir, I've never written one, but I know what that must be like, especially for someone who has lived a life like yours. How are you feeling now that the world is really going to get to know your full story?
I'm excited because, so often when it's giving a speech or doing an interview or something like that, you get to share a sliver of your story. And of course, people know pieces of mine. So, sometimes that makes them think that they know who I am or my journey. And this book really gave me an opportunity to talk about the things it took to get me to where I am today. I talk a lot about being a young Black queer person in this country, and I talk about growing up in a conservative majority white town and what that felt like. I talk about struggle to find a place to belong. I talk about the power of chosen family and community. And I think I like to, leave things on an optimistic or hopeful note. And so the book for me really rounds out with a story of forgiveness. It rounds out with a story of finding that deep sense of safety and belonging in the communities that we choose. And I feel like that's a message that will resonate with people right now, especially as we're in such a divided time. So I am really excited to have shared a more rich, robust version of my story. There's some salacious, scandalous things in there that you don't usually hear either. So I think all around, I'm just excited to share it with folks.
Yeah, because I think what so many of us remember, going back to 2016 is you were in the spotlight, thrust into it after what happened at Pulse. But, with I think your activism and your connection to the community, it really was before all of that. Tell me about that, because I think, so many of us saw you kind of after that and just, assumed that like that's what happened, but you were really involved in doing amazing things, before 2016.
I was really passionate about trying to make the world better for the people whose lives I could touch. I won't begin to say that I understood politics or, was an advocate for civil rights at the time, but I had a passion for trying to create spaces where people could belong. I was working for Starbucks at the time, and what I was most excited about every day was trying to create a sense of belonging in the stores that I managed, in the markets that I managed. And I knew that, in my work with Starbucks as a corporation, that we were a beacon for queer young people, queer people in general, who were looking for workplaces that could see all of them. We were certainly a beacon for trans people because we had a healthcare policy that, was inclusive of gender affirming care. And so while I maybe wasn't the fiercest of activists on the political stage, I didn't have a big megaphone yet. I've always been really passionate about trying to create spaces for people to be authentically themselves. And I like to think that I surrounded myself with others who did the same. And that's part of what I shared in A Place for Us is how deeply and personally my friends touched me in creating spaces for me to be proud of myself for the first time. And really, that's what continues to drive me today. I just want to carry on that legacy of creating spaces where people can be their entire selves.
Grief is one of the things that you talk a lot about in this, and it's not just pertaining to Pulse. I know you lost your mother, who was a big support to you early on. What was it like to kind of relive all of those emotions and then put it on paper? I mean, it's going to be really helpful for other people, but I would imagine it can be tricky to kind of open up all that again.
One of the things that I noted in the book, I try to be really honest and authentic all the time. And so, there's a moment where I was writing stories about my mother and losing her when I was a really young kid, and what that felt like for our family, what it felt like for me to be isolated. And I came to the realization that I'd never articulated the ties between losing my mom and losing my best friends. I'd never really talked about what losing her felt like and how that drove me to leave Portland, Oregon, and moved to Orlando, Florida in 2008. I'd never really articulated those things. I knew them internally, but hadn't really put words to those emotions before. And so I took a pause and I wrote a couple of sentences just saying, I don't think I've ever really put all these pieces together before. And so you're getting a glimpse into what it's like for me to process these things in real time. It was really hard to do that. It was really challenging to talk about losing my mom, to talk about how that impacted me. It was really hard to talk about my family and the struggles that we had when I was a kid, when I came out, what all of that felt like. But part of what's beautiful for me about this story is that it is about redemption too. It's about, all of the trials and tribulations that I had at a young age coming full circle and shaping me into the person I am today. So those stories were tough to tell. It is really tough to talk about losing my mom and the way that impacted me, but it was important to tell. And I think helps to set the stage for, where I am, the person I am today.
What do you think she would think right now, knowing that you are doing all these amazing things and a book is coming out, a memoir at that? I mean, have you thought about that?
I think she would be most proud of me today because I steamed my suit. And she would be very proud that I didn't walk out the door in a wrinkly jacket. No, I hope she would be proud of the fact that I've been able to be vulnerable and authentic with people. I hope that she would be proud of the journey that I've been on. I never got a chance to come out to my grandma, my dad's mom, but she asked me for a copy of the book. And so I signed one and sent it to her, kind of nervous because I am very honest about who I am in this book. In 34 years of life, I've never had a conversation about my sexual orientation with her. And so I sent it off. I was really nervous. I wasn't sure how she was going to respond. And in her, text message review of the book back to me, she said that she is pretty sure my mom would be very proud of me. So I'll take grandma's word for it. I hope that my mom would be proud of me, and I just hope I continue to make her proud every day.
Amazing. Did your grandmother, get into anything else that kind of, like you said, it was a lot of revelations for her to read, I'm sure.
You know how grandmas are. They don't always have to say everything for you to know what they mean. But she was really sweet. Her review, she said that she admired my courage for going through so much as a young person. She said it broke her heart that, I went through so much as a child. And the part that stood out to me that told me, she read all of my story and really, I guess, understood me more deeply. At the end of her review, she said, "I hope you know that we love you. We've always loved you, and we always will." For me, that was grandma saying, "You're perfect exactly as you are."
That is, I mean, that's amazing. Go grandma. I'm so happy for you to have had that
Love
moment.
grandma. Grandmas are undefeated in my view.
That's right. It's an interesting, to say the least, time for the community. And I think about, myself being in the movement, but then it's with you, like someone like you who literally is living and breathing activism and, keeping up with what's happening to the community every single day. It's tough. It can be hard to be a queer person and also work in the movement. How do you kind of just keep your head on straight at this point?
Well, I mean, the hard part, as you said, is that we bring so much to the work, right? We bring so much trauma and baggage and lived experiences. And, every time we go to a state legislative hearing or we listen to, Ron DeSantis get behind a podium and talk trash about trans people, it brings up all the things we heard in high school hallways and, the way families talked about us around Thanksgiving dinner tables. And it is really challenging. It weighs on people. But number one, I have made it my goal over the last couple of years to not celebrate overwork, but celebrate self-care. And so, if you see my Instagram feed, you're going to see drinks by the pool in Palm Springs alongside speeches on big stages, because I think both of those things are necessary in this world. So I want to encourage everyone, celebrate self-care, celebrate joy, celebrate pride, because that's the point, right? We fight for a world that's better, so we get to enjoy it. So enjoy it along the way and celebrate that. And the other thing is I find hope and optimism in the next generation of fighters. I mean, these kids they're doing it. They are 100% in all the time. They are rewriting the future, not just of Florida, but of the country. I watch, young people like Xander Morix here in Florida, Javier Gomez, Will Larkins, these young queer leaders who are leading school walkouts, thousands of students walking out of class. They're teaching banned book courses and AP African American studies, even though the governor won't allow it in classrooms. They're defying the status quo because they understand the world they deserve. And every time I'm down on my luck, I'm feeling like it's really hard, maybe this work is too much for me, I look at the incredible things these young people are accomplishing. And I know that if they can do it, I can be right there beside them, helping them, supporting them, giving them everything they need to thrive. They give me a lot of hope and optimism. So when I'm not celebrating my self-care, when I'm deep in the weeds of the work, they're what gives me the energy to keep going.
I love that. I needed to hear that self-care thing because it's hard. You can get like in this mode of I have to do more and more and more. And then you're like, wait, I have to actually take care of myself too. So that's good. What's the takeaway? What do you hope that people that pick up your memoir, A Place for Us, what do you want them to take away from the life that you've lived so far in these 34 years?
There's so much that I built into this book that I think is important for people to hear. But I would say the most important thing for me is that young queer people, especially young queer people of color, see themselves in my journey and understand that they have everything they need in order to be great. They have all the tools in their toolbox to achieve their wildest dreams. They are perfect exactly as they are, and that the world really needs them, needs their stories, needs their passion, their joy, their love. The world needs you, young queer person of color, next Brandon Wolfe in the world. And I really hope that those queer kids pick up this book and they see themselves in that journey. And I also hope that those who don't always see eye to eye with people like me, that those who don't really understand maybe their family member or their friend or their neighbor, pick up this book and for a moment see a glimpse of something different. Something that, you know, they may have never taken the time to be courageously curious about before. There was a woman who left a review on Amazon that really touched me. And she started by saying, I should let you know that I am the mother of a trans boy that I am really struggling to accept and understand, but your book gave me a new chance to do that. I hope that people like that pick up this book and give love an opportunity, give community an opportunity, give humanity a chance, and are able to see the people in their lives a little more fully.
Well, I can't get any better than that. And listen, people, you can get it starting July 1st. It's called A Place for Us. It's by Brandon Wolfe. Thank you, Brandon. Congrats. I'm so excited to finish reading it, and I'm excited for the rest of the world to be able to get their hands on it. And I'll see you very soon. So thanks again for the time.